OTAs are about to begin for the Philadelphia Eagles, and there's going to be some major storylines that you don't want to miss, including the start of some intense positional battles, getting our first impressions of some of the Birds' new additions and rookies, and also the latest regarding a potential Bryce Huff trade. So in this video, I'm going to break that all down. Plus, the Eagles also got some other great news ahead of OTAs regarding one of their injured stars, while another star in A.J. Brown just put the NFL on notice. So again, I'm going to talk about all that, and we're starting right now. The Birds' first open practice of OTAs is tomorrow as of the making of this video, that being May 27th, and that is just the first of 6 open OTA practices that the Eagles will have over the next several weeks, with those other practices coming the day after tomorrow, being May 28th, and then also Friday, May 30th, followed by sessions on June 2nd, 3rd, and 5th, which is Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday of next week. And that's all leading up to one final mandatory mini-camp practice before summer break, that being on June 10th. So safe to say, we're going to get a ton of news coming out of that in the form of different reports during and after practice, pictures, practice videos, highlights, interview clips, and so much more. And I'm going to be breaking it all down here on this channel, so make sure you guys are subscribed and you have notifications turned on. That way you don't miss anything. And speaking of not missing anything, there is going to be plenty of storylines to watch for the Eagles going into this OTA period, whether it's the situation surrounding a certain player, exciting positional battles that we're going to get our first real look at, or how some of the rookies and new additions look in their first open practices as members of the Eagles. So let's get into all that. And we'll start off with the situation surrounding edge rusher Bryce Huff. Huff signed a huge 3-year, $51 million contract with the Birds just last offseason, but an extremely disappointing injury-riddled year that saw him go from an exciting offseason addition to Super Bowl inactive has the Birds in a bit of a difficult situation. And it also leaves them with a big decision to make. I mean, do they keep Huff and hope he can bounce back in year 2? Or do they trade him or maybe even cut him, eat some dead money now, but ultimately get off that contract in the long run and move on? Well, what happens in OTAs, and specifically over this next week or so, is going to be really important in helping determine that. And that's because if the Birds trade Huff post June 1st, it spreads the dead cap hit across the next 2 seasons rather than just accelerating it all to this year, making a trade a lot more financially viable. So if the Eagles are going to actually trade Huff this offseason, there's probably a decent chance that it happens very soon with June 1st rolling around on Sunday. Plus, it'll be interesting to see whether Huff is actually present at these OTA practices or not, because that could be pretty indicative of what direction things are headed. So I guess we'll see, but whatever happens with Bryce Huff is definitely going to be one of the big storylines to follow as we get into OTAs. And one of the reasons, aside from the contract and subpar play, that I personally think Huff could be in danger of getting traded soon is simply the depth the Eagles currently have at the edge rusher position. Because on top of having 2 up-and-coming young guys that were here last year in Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt, the Birds also have a bunch of exciting new additions at that position, whether it's the 6th-round rookie Antoine Powell-Ryland or the 2 free agent acquisitions in Azeez Ojulari and Joshua O'Shea. And personally, I'm really excited to get my first look at all these guys during OTAs because, as I've said before, I think APR has the potential to be one of the steals of the draft, just given that, aside from his size and mainly his arm length, there's just so much to like about him and his potential to be a good NFL edge rusher. I mean, the guy just had 16 sacks last year and clearly has ability as a pass rusher, so I'm excited to see if he can flash during OTAs or not. And then Ojulari and Uche are 2 guys that I actually mentioned as breakout candidates in my last video for the Birds, so go check that video out after this one if you want. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm excited about the potential that both these guys have, with Ojulari being somebody that has put up good sack totals multiple times in the past, but has just struggled to stay healthy. And then Uche is someone who had one great year in 2022 sack-wise, and even since then, he has showed promise as a pass rusher, but he just has never been able to get back to that level of production for a variety of reasons, including injuries. But again, if both of these guys can stay healthy, I think there is a very good shot of them contributing in 2025. So I'm excited to see how they perform during OTAs. And then in regards to some of the other new additions, I'm excited to watch some of them too, particularly free agent guys like A.J. Dillon, who has the potential to be a solid depth piece at running back this year, or returner Avery Williams, who could turn out to be a star on special teams as well as a gadget guy. And then there's also rookies like safety Andrew Mukuba, who we're going to talk more about a bit later, or there's defensive tackle Ty Robinson, aka the Vanilla Gorilla, as I think he has the chance to be an absolute beast, and Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship also think he has the chance to be the next exciting White.
Which other Eagles player has the potential to become an exciting White?
It meant Vanilla Gorilla.
Yeah!
Who's the Vanilla Gorilla?
You guys know
the
who that
rookie.
is? Ty Robinson?
Yeah.
That's his nickname, apparently.
Can we put that?
Moving on though, when it comes to the rookies to watch at OTAs, I would also keep my eye on a couple of the tackle prospects the Birds added later in the draft, those being Michigan's Miles Hinton and Texas's Cameron Williams, especially after what star offensive tackle Jordan Mailata just said about them last week.
What do you like about Miles and Cam from a physical standpoint, pushing you?
The effort, the grind. A couple days we had to get on them a little bit. I got them a little bit. Now we're in the second week together, mate. Just the effort they put in the drills, the when they make a mistake, they correct it the next day. Like that is showing that someone is coachable. It's not just the physical side. It's can they learn from their mistakes and can they apply it the next day when we're doing that drill? And mate, Miles and Cam are doing a great job.
It certainly sounds like Hinton and Williams are adjusting quickly to the NFL and learning fast, which is definitely good to hear. And then on top of that, everyone is also surely anxious to see what's going on with Eagles first-round linebacker Jihaad Campbell, as of course he's still recovering from offseason shoulder surgery he had just a few months ago, and he wasn't able to participate in rookie minicamp. So we'll see what happens on that front and whether he's able to participate in OTAs or not. It definitely would be awesome to see him out there practicing just to see how he performs. But that said, my bet is that he probably doesn't participate, although I could be wrong. But I would just say the smart thing for the Eagles to do is just play it safe with Campbell. I mean, as much as, again, it would be nice to have him out there practicing during this portion of the offseason, there's really no need to rush him back. Like, the one concern with Campbell is his injury history, and if you take that out of the equation, then there's really no question that he's going to be a very good player. So the number one priority is just making sure he's healthy, meaning that if he can practice, that's great. But if there's any doubt, then I'd just say wait for training camp. But speaking of injury updates on linebackers, we switch our focus to Nakobe Dean, as we recently got some really positive updates on him and his recovery in the days leading up to OTAs. Now, no, he's not going to be ready for OTAs, and he still has a long way to go before he's back and fully healthy, as typically the recovery for Dean's specific injury, being a torn patellar tendon, takes around 6 to 12 months, and it's definitely a tough injury to come back from, no doubt about that. But the good news is he definitely seems to be ahead of schedule when it comes to his recovery, as in recent videos, we've seen Dean both walking around at the Eagles Autism Foundation with no brace on that left knee, and then later, at a team outing where the Eagles were playing basketball, Dean could be seen hitting a half-court shot backwards and then jumping around in celebration, which definitely seems like a good sign for the health of that knee. And on top of that, a recent story on NBC 10 Philadelphia revealed that Dean has actually been training with some ballet movements as part of his recovery, just to help with his flexibility and mobility on that leg and on that knee, which he says has been pretty effective, saying, quote, "There's way more flexibility, of course, way more mobility. It's definitely something that's helped with my rehab. You just feel a change immediately. After you stretch, you're not as tight or as sore. My whole thing is trying to be the absolute best version of myself. For me, that's greatness. If I'm striving to be that every day and doing whatever it takes to be that." So overall, I think this is a great update, and it definitely sounds like Nakobe Dean's recovery is coming along very nicely. And while I still wouldn't expect him to be ready for the start of training camp, it does feel like a return could happen earlier in the season rather than later. Moving on though, possibly the biggest storylines to follow during OTAs are going to be the positional battles, as there's going to be quite a few of those going on, with the most prominent one likely being at the safety position, that being between the third-year man Sidney Brown and the rookie Andrew Mukuba. Now, on one hand, Mukuba seems to have about every trait you would want from a safety and clearly has the potential to be a star in this league. However, he is just a rookie, so Sid has the clear edge in NFL playing experience, while he also is a guy who brings a lot of energy and toughness at the safety position, and if he can just learn to slow down a little bit, then he could be very good as well. So this is no doubt going to be a really, really tough battle throughout the entire offseason. Plus, you can even throw former first-round pick Lewis Cine into the mix to make it even more interesting. And then moving on, you also have the battle at right guard, where Tyler Steen is no doubt going to be the clear favorite, but you also have guys like Kenyon Green and Matt Pryor in the mix for that spot as well. And then moving on, at cornerback, there's likely going to be a slight battle there, with Kelee Ringo easily being the favorite, but veteran Adoree Jackson could provide some competition. So again, it's definitely going to be very interesting to watch some of these positional battles as we get into OTAs. Moving on though, ahead of OTAs, one of the Eagles' biggest stars has kind of been put in the NFL on notice, that being wide receiver A.J. Brown. as his hunger to be the best and climb the mountaintop once again is clearly stronger than ever, as he just visited what has been labeled the most dangerous gym in America for a really intense and grueling workout that he actually said made him have to tap into his struggles in his childhood just to get through it. Yeah, so again, watching that, it's clear that AJ is hungry and locked in for next season, fresh off of winning a Super Bowl, and you absolutely love to see it. And you also love to see AJ ranked #1 on PFF's recent ranking of the league's top wide receivers, which sure, may be a bit of a hot take to some, but when you actually look at the numbers presented by PFF's Tampa Bay Trey, it actually makes a lot of sense.
From a 3-year sample size, AJ Brown is the highest graded wide receiver that we have amongst these three. When you look at his overall receiving yards, Ja'Marr Chase has actually played 350 more receiving snaps, and yet AJ Brown has more receiving yards than he does at over 4,100, and Ja'Marr Chase has just over 4,000. So he beats him in receiving yards there. Yards per reception, AJ Brown is #1 amongst these three wide receivers at a 15.1. Receiving touchdowns, yes, Ja'Marr Chase is higher, but AJ Brown is second in front of Justin Jefferson with 25 compared to Justin Jefferson's 23. When you look at total drop passes over the last 3 years of these three wide receivers, AJ Brown has the least. Yards per route run, AJ Brown has the most of these three wide receivers at 2.57. And then when you look at average depth of target, still 12.7. AJ Brown, once again, #1. And then forced missed tackles per reception, AJ Brown, #1 amongst these three wide receivers at 55. So the 3-year sample size is totally there in AJ Brown's favor. AJ Brown, #1 amongst these three wide receivers just last year in total receiving grade at a 91.6. And then this is the one that I really love. Whether you are looking at a 3-year sample size or a 1-year sample size, just what happened last year, AJ Brown is the #1 wide receiver in the NFL when it comes to receiving grade and statistics against single coverage situations. That's why I understand AJ Brown doesn't play a ton in the slot. He's more on the outside, so when it comes to versatility there, when you put AJ Brown in situations where it's their best cover corner against him, he wins almost all the time. I did not go into this exercise thinking that I would have AJ Brown as my #1 wide receiver in the NFL, but no matter what metric you look at and no matter what sample size you look at, this is the dude, and he is my #1 wide receiver going into 2025.
I think those were all fantastic points, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm just so excited to see what AJ Brown is going to do this year. I mean, he's clearly been sending a message this offseason with how hard he's been working that he is just as hungry as ever. So the NFL better watch out, because AJ Brown is coming to make a statement in 2025. And that said, you guys know that I'm going to be continuing to cover all things Philadelphia Eagles throughout this entire offseason, including, of course, OTAs over these next few weeks. So make sure you guys subscribe and you turn on notifications. That way you don't miss anything. And also, while you're at it, make sure you drop a like down below to show some support, because it really does help me out a ton. See if we can get to at least 500 likes on today's video. And also, leave a comment down below. What's the biggest storyline that you're looking forward to watching during OTAs? Again, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that, or just anything else that I talked about in this video. And also, if you want to watch another Eagles video going over 10 Eagles that I think are ready to possibly break out in 2025, you can check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.